welcome everyone. The tournament should be getting underway now. But while everybody is making their duel rooms, how are you all doing today? Frogmaster, Blue Eyes will be showcased this week. I am going to be picking up the third structure deck, hopefully tomorrow. And then I will play some games with a couple of different builds and work on that video. I think before Blue Eyes, I'm probably doing Cybers. And then it'll be Blue Eyes and then Machines. And I'm going to be trying to get all of those done this week. Though, that might be a lot. Welcome, Manarchist. I actually, yeah, you know, now that you mention it, I did notice you were not signed up, but I know you have work and other things going on. And the source events are much, longer. Okay. I actually need to press the start bracket button, apparently. So I have done that. Now, hopefully, if I refresh again, things are good. I should probably ping the tournament participants that it has started. I would say it has actually been a fairly stressful morning. Just getting everything set up. Basically, I woke up and saw all the problems that were going on with the tournament, which honestly is probably one of the reasons I do prefer the point battles. Just because there is so much less behind the scenes work needed. But it looks like we have one group of players who have already checked in. I will be stealing their room code once it is posted. And we'll go ahead and see what they are up to. Today, I believe we have 30 or so players. So it is definitely the largest event that we have run so far. Welcome, Starboy. Welcome, Blitzforce. Hope you all are doing well today. Let us see how things are going. A couple of players have checked in. Alright, and time to steal their room code. So we can go ahead and watch the first match of this event. Give me one moment so that you all are not sniping the room. How do I actually hide this? And we are back. And apparently we are actually looking at a top 10 Goha Rush Festival player here. And I did not know that. I absolutely seeded them incorrectly. I didn't recognize the username, but apparently they are quite good. Alright, so we see Moosh with those cow sleeves and playmat. Definitely a good choice. And then the opponent, who I believe is the top 10 player, with no sleeves or mat set. They are just here to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Both players starting off with a set 3 pass. And it looks like Yuga is going to be on Machines today. Though they are running Essel, meaning they aren't on the traditional Ultimate Bond skill, which I believe only allows for spellcasters and machines. But maybe that is a 1400 only restriction. Quantum, I don't know. I didn't even know there was a point battle this morning. Are you talking about the Nano? Okay, Ultimate Bond is 1400 only. Or 1400 over. Got it. I'm thinking of the Magnum Overlord skill, which is Machine Spellcaster Lock. But Moosh opens up with the turn 2 maximum. And it's going to blow away Mirror Innovator. And probably the Avant Wolf as well. No, they choose the Crafter Drone. I feel like they are missing out on a little bit of damage here. But it does mean if the opponent has a trap card to stop the attack, that they wouldn't be able to reuse the Crafter Drone on the next turn. So that makes sense. Okay, so Quantum is definitely talking about the Nano events. I just have not been following them. Because I am not awake during it. We see HP to the Doomed and Steel Barrage completely opening the board. But unfortunately, they did not manage to find any boss monsters. So they are swinging in for a mere 1200 damage. And Moosh, with a maximum, discovered and pushed away. Getting another copy out is going to be incredibly difficult. We see a lone Urabi and no tributes. Urabi swings in for 1300. But with Shigu having 3 back row, things are probably not looking all that good for Moosh here. They didn't actually use any of the Speller Traps that turn, but they also weren't that threatened. So there wasn't much of a reason to flip over a slime, for example. Welcome, Shoto. And we see a pretty awkward state of the game. 3 turns with no bosses. But Moosh summons out a second copy of the Maximum. And a buffered slime is unable to stop a Maximum from swinging in. No negate attack means the game is over. Blitz Force. Global chat has been entirely removed from Duel Links. They announced it a while ago. And welcome, Shoto. I am doing pretty well, all things considered. I think now that the event is underway, it should be smooth sailing for the rest of the day. So overall, I would definitely say machines have an advantage in the matchup, as the Dinosaur Maximum is a little bit inconsistent. But as you can see, Moosh was able to draw it 2 times relatively quickly, and Shigu didn't have any boss monsters, allowing them to steal the game. We see a turn 2 Essel into a 1900 attack headpiece. Definitely not the strongest, but this could be a lot weaker. On board we have 3900. But it looks like Shigu does have a card here. I mean, if they have a negate attack, I can see why they were thinking about holding it. Obviously, stopping the 3900 damage is quite significant. But it is also the only way to realistically handle the maximum monster once it comes down. Oh, welcome Penguin and Benex. Alright, Barrage of Steel, removing one of the 2 back row. And Bulgercorn could lock down the other. Or I think it already has. With a Tough Striker and Bulgercorn on board, Moosh takes 1700 and needs to find a way to deal with a 2500 monster. Previously, I'm pretty sure they were only really outing these monsters via the maximum summons. But we see a 3500 King Rex thanks to the power of Co-Evolutionary Miracle. King Rex brings out a 1400 defender, providing some defense, on the next turn while still being able to completely clear the board with this Urabi. And Shoto, no, we only just started less than 15 minutes ago. We are in round 1 of the event. We see the Surge Bicorn, but rather than use it for the double tribute ability, they go ahead and tribute it off normally, as they already had multiple 1500s in hand. I wanted to get an empty hand to be able to draw back the cards they are recycling next turn. Mirror Innovator at 3600 clears out the King Rex, but it does mean they are going to have to crash an Avant Wolf if they want an empty board. Moosh with two cards in hand probably has a couple of the maximum pieces ready to go, but with a Mirror Innovator on board, setting monsters face down is not that safe. Mirror Innovator currently able to gain 400 attack and piercing, and when a second one is added, Moosh is going to need to flip up a negate attack if they want to keep living. Theoretically, they could have used Azul's effect here. Well, actually, yeah. And that would have had a chance to put more high-level monsters in the graveyard to increase Mirror Innovator's attack even further. But negate attack is coming down from Moosh, stopping the double Innovator and giving them one more turn to find the maximum. And they do it. Penguin, I would say machines are probably currently the best deck in the game. Though, the Dinosaur player is definitely doing their best and has a game up plus a 2400 swing this turn. If Shigu is not able to out the maximum this turn, Moosh might just be getting a 2-0 victory over what might be the strongest deck in the format. Here comes an Amigal, and it is going to be able to bring in a 3500. But is that monster going to be level 8? No. Mirror Innovator is on board. But even if you boost the attack, it is not able to destroy the Dynamix by battle. And that means Shigu is going to need a Seal Array to get lethal damage. But they don't have it. Mirror Innovator pierces in for 1800. But Dinosaur Crush is going to be removing one of those back row. And with Tribute to the Doomed, that is almost certainly going to be game. And a 2-0 victory for Dinosaurs. Let's go ahead and find another room. Fortunately for Sieg, the tournament is not over. We are in Swiss rather than single elimination, meaning there is still plenty of time to make a comeback. Let's go ahead and find a new room to feature. And looks like they have just finished game number 1. So we will go ahead and take a look at that. Shadow, unfortunately, the event has started. I wanted to start streaming earlier to advertise the event, but there were so many issues on the back end that we were not able to get it started. But if you want to join the events in the future, check out the Discord server. I will go ahead and send you the link in the chat. Anybody is able to join the server and participate in the tournaments for free. Most of them don't have much in the way of prizing, but today we are actually giving out a deck of physical Rush Duel cards to the winner. Oh, if you don't have Discord, that is going to make it pretty difficult to organize. And it looks like we are seeing a, I assume Death Doom Requiem. But I got distracted finding the chat. Okay, they are on Death Doom. And Bulgercorn able to shut down one of these back row. Man bringing in the Bright Eyes, who is able to then become a 3,000 attack point monster. Invasion definitely getting destroyed here. Oh, but they actually choose to go for the Arching Soldier first. This is fine, as the only real punish is if Andrew is running Call the Earthbound, which they almost certainly aren't, in order to fit in additional copies of Heavy Metal. Alright, Dragon Inferno, able to destroy one of the back row, and they manage to land the Negate attack, and the Slime with an incredible push here. Blue Eyes White Dragon enables Bright Eyes Effect to destroy the Essel, and Torna is going to remove the final monster that was in defense. Andrew is almost certainly going down, but no. A Recital keeps them alive for one more turn. And now, if they manage to land a Death Doom, they are going to be able to wipe out the board. But a Doom Metal with only a Gargoyle and Shadowbuyer is not going to be enough. Shadowbuyer only goes up to level 7, which is fine. But the Gargoyle was not able to increase its level past 5. They needed another copy of Phaser. Alright, sorry if my voice has been kind of hoarse. I did try drinking some water, so hopefully that is going to help. Alright, so starting with a set 4 pass as normal. Then Zaga Zaga summoning the Essel. And they managed to find a Torna. A great way to get in for some damage this turn. Soul Drake, unfortunately not going to be doing much of anything. But they actually choose not to activate either Torna's effect, instead opting to try to just swing in over and preserve a card in hand. Which I'm going to assume has to be something like a Blue Eyes. Or the Bright Dragon. Well, actually, maybe it's just a Kaibaman that they didn't want to bring out as they didn't have any copies of their relevant monsters. Alright, we see the Phaser switch into the Heavy Metal. And then a new Heavy Metal is going to be able to destroy the Soul Drake, allowing it to push in for 2,000. Zaga Zaga draws for turn, and another Soul Drake comes down. But more importantly, a Light Sorcerer Sanctity is going to be able to debuff the Heavy Metal before Bright Eyes boosts itself up to 3,000. Wait, and we see another Light Sorcerer. They absolutely missed out on some damage here. Had they brought in the 2 Light Sorcerers together, there would have been a 0 attack Heavy Metal. And the punish would be running a 1100 Soul Drake rather than the 1200 Light Sorcerer. So they are missing out on 200 damage there. Alright, we see the Ghost Cyclone destroying the Seal Array. But Andrew is not able to actually clear out this board at all. And the attack mode Nessus means they must have something like a Negate attack face down, or they wouldn't leave it face up. I mean, obviously there is a Torna, so there is going to be another monster being switched into attack mode. Though I do not expect this to be lethal. For sure, Andrew has a negate attack set, or at least a slime. Wait, but the Boltricorn hits a back row, but they do not choose the negate attack, giving Andrew one more turn. And we see two level 7 Shadow Buyers with a Genie's Fire Breath. This is able to remove the back row, and a Doom Metal would completely wipe out the board. Doom Metal enters the board, inflicts 1500 burn, and then attacks directly for game. But I do believe the Blue Eyes deck won last time, making it 1-1 and going into game 3. And it looks like I was right. They are indeed starting another round. Rebels are up first, but as a very reactive deck, I definitely don't expect to see them summoning much in the way of attack mode monsters. With the Blue Eyes deck, there is always a chance that an awkwardish hand would lead to them tribute summoning a Blue Eyes in attack mode, or a tribute setting. But the Rebel deck tends to run plenty of spell and trap cards, and has very little reason to summon a boss in attack. Sometimes, if they have a phaser in hand, they can cheat out a boss monster to set up the graveyard, but this time we are seeing a set 4 pass. We do know the Blue Eyes player is running plenty of Torna to get in for piercing damage, but are they going to have it? It looks like this time the answer is no. Swinging in for battle. Palace Gargoyle is probably the only thing in the deck able to stop a Light Sorcerer Sanctity, and there we have it. One flips up, and the Blue Eyes player is only able to destroy a single monster. With the Gargoyle on board, it is able to use the effect to become a level 5 monster and enable a Heavy Metal to destroy the Light Sorcerer of Sanctity. Essel Milling. Probably a good plan to set up those boss monsters in the graveyard, but having two of them in there, not so great. So we see a Shadow Buyer flipped up to return the Heavy Metal. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't choose to recycle the Doom Metal instead, but the Heavy Metal is of course much easier to actually land the effect of. And here comes a Doom Metal. But it was not summoned with 2 level 7 monsters. We see another Shadow Buyer to recycle that Doom Metal. And it is battle time. Looks like there is a lot of crashing going on. But Zaga Zaga actually chooses to go for the negate attack, which I think is probably a misplay. If you let the Doom Metal crash into Bright Dragon, and a Shadow Buyer crash into the Light Sorcerer, you end up with the opponent only having a single monster on board, and then you'll be able to get in for a ton of damage, unless you draw just absolutely terribly. We see Essel milling a Soul Drake and Kyberman, unfortunately meaning that the Blue Eyes Red Dragon is still not in rotation. It's looking like Zaga Zaga does have another boss monster, and 2 Blue Eyes Bright Dragon, plus another Essel, is going to be able to completely clear out this board. Talismanic Seal Array, reducing the Doom Metal all the way down to 900 attack. And it even puts back all the copies of Kaibaman, allowing for easy access to the Blue Eyes White Dragon once it is found. Unfortunately for Zaga Zaga, Andrew also has the negate attack. And things are much worse than they would have been if they let the trades go through. Both Shadow Buyers are on board and able to become level 7. And that means another Doom Metal is absolutely a straight OTK, dealing 2,000 burn damage. Then swinging in for 5,000 direct. Oh, happy upcoming birthday, Shoto. Do you have any plans for the day? And here we see a Heavy Metal. Heavy Metal, not quite as good as summoning out a Doom Metal here, but it might be enough. That's 3,500, so 1,000 plus 15. No, not nearly close enough. And again, being forced to trade away that Doom Metal if they want to swing indirectly. Have we seen Shield and Sword from the Blue Eyes player? We have not. But they also might be on Tribute to the Doomed. I actually don't fully remember. But I feel like we have seen a Shield and Sword. We see another Bright Dragon coming down. Dragon's Inferno, able to destroy the back row. And Slime is a great card to get rid of early. They'll be able to clear out the Heavy Metal and inflict 500. But the Nessus sticking around as tribute fodder. By placing multiple monsters in defense mode, the value of an opposing Doom Metal decreases significantly. As it's only going to be able to destroy one monster and inflict minimal burn. Alright, we see the Nessus go ahead and clear out the Boltricorn, which would have been great to stop Andrew's back row here. Man flipped up, and I think we are finally going to be seeing the actual legend monster. We do. And that means Blue Eyes Bright Dragon will be destroying Nessus. Light Source's Entity onto the board, but not that impactful. Torn of the Wind-Weaver, a much better choice. Now we are able to flip over a monster and then have the Bright Dragon destroy whichever one is a little bit more problematic. Bright Dragon mills a Kaibaman and destroys the Nessus before swinging in over the Cobalt for 2,000. This puts Andrew at 3,500, meaning the Blue Eyes is probably the right one to swing in with. Well, actually, no, Torna is on board and would be able to clear any defense mode monster. In my head, it was still the 1,200 Light Sorcerer, which would have been able to crash into a Gargoyle and not deal any damage. But Andrew does have the Recital, so it doesn't matter which one swings in either way. And once again, Andrew is able to land a Death Metal that would end the game. 2,200 damage plus direct attacks. But it comes down to whether or not they're able to find a copy of Doom Metal plus 2 more monsters. 2 of their Shadow Buyers are down. And Phaser is alive. But they are going to draw a card they only have 2 copies of in 17 cards. And they are thinking, which means they definitely don't have a straightforward Doom Metal into win combo. But they might have something else. Let's see what they bring out. I think if they have an invasion, that's obviously not going to be doing much of anything. A Heavy Metal, though, is at least representing 1,600 damage, or 1,100 if you choose to destroy the vanilla Blue Eyes. Notably, all 3 copies of the Bright Dragon are on field or in grave at this point. So it might make more sense to actually clear out the Bright Dragon if you don't think the Blue Eyes is able to lethal you, as the destruction effect is more threatening. And you get in for a little bit more damage. Unfortunately for Andrew though, no copies of Soul Drake are in the graveyard, and we actually see a Doom Metal in defense plus a Shadow Buyer and pass. I don't think that works. Torna flips over the monster. Bright Dragon destroys the Doom Metal. And then they just swing in for game. Have we seen Slime and Negate Attack? We have. Negate Attack was used early on, and Slime got destroyed by back removal. We see 2,000 damage coming in from the Blue Eyes. Torna swings in for 400. Does Andrew have a copy of the Guard? No, that is game. Blue Eyes takes this round. And that means we are almost in round 2. The only player left is Tomato's match. And they are on game 3. Let's go ahead and see what they are up to. So, the final game of round 1. Tomato on Gokto. Potentially running, I was going to say Ice Arc, but they are on an Archive skill. So I would guess Noodles, which is what they normally bring to tournaments. Tyler on Rebels. And this is an interesting matchup. Normally, Noodles are in a really good spot due to their ability to burn the opponent even when they have cards like Negate Attack. But Rebels are able to do the exact same thing with Doom Metal, and being able to remove the extra spices, regardless of Tomato's back row, is actually enough to potentially give them a winning matchup. We see Tyler with a pretty defensive board, but they still take 1,000 damage. But a second Doom Metal comes out immediately. And with only 2,400 on extra spice, you always have to be a little bit careful of running in to the 2,500 boss monsters, which are always so common. Doom Metal comes in, but the other one is in defense mode, so a Call of the Earthbound is able to redirect the attack into Fire Yarrow. And extra spice survives to deal another 1,000 damage. And this is when the deck really puts in its work. But it looks like Tomato did not draw a single other normal monster. They did not go for the burn and draw. Thinking with Apollo Bentai, we see a monster reincarnation to flip back a Doom Metal into hand. And this is going to work pretty well for them. Invasion and the Doom Metal not sacrifice, they bring out the attack mode Invasion in order to switch the Doom Metal to attack. Okay. This board is looking pretty strong. And if Tomato is on the trap variant, they might have trouble getting over double 2,500 monsters without any copies of Roastery. Extra Spice getting in for a bit of burn, and then reboot to add it right back to hand. 3,000 is able to clear one of the monsters, and a Talismanic Seal Ray for extra damage. But they are still going to need to show a second boss monster if they want to clear the board, which it seems that they don't. And honestly, that might be the right play. Doom Metal, as a strategy, is always doing best when you play multiple attack position monsters by simply playing one boss per turn and leaving the other monsters in defense. Your life points remain relatively safe, and you're able to win the War of Attrition. Metal clears over extra spice, but Tomato keeps a monster on board as Luke only puts up a lone invasion. And Tomato is now sending 3 and passing. The Rebel deck typically can only inflict its burn damage if you have attack mode monsters, and they don't run any ways to pierce, meaning Tomato is going to be able to stall until they find another tribute monster and are able to make a big play. Buffered Slime and Negate Attack are not able to stop a lethal from an extra spice, and if we see a monster reincarnation, flip up. That would be game. But I'm not thinking we are going to see it. We enter battle and they attempt to swing in over the Arcane Soldier, but Negate Attack, of course, is there to stop it. Both players with 3 back row. Unlikely to go down via battle anytime soon. Cobalt able to cycle a card, and rather than destroy the extra spice with heavy metal, they are using a Talismanic Seal Ray to weaken it. I feel like they definitely did tribute off this invasion to summon the heavy metal, but Negate Attack is going to stop it anyway. Wait, oh, so the Talismanic Seal Ray was actually just to be able to recycle your monsters. They were fairly low on cards in deck, but I don't think they were so low that it was the right play. We see a bit of a damage loss from Spice here, as it doesn't activate the effect at all. Wait, and I missed something. Oh, they have the slime, so it doesn't matter. Alright, we see another Doom Metal, and then Invasion is able to destroy the Fire Yarrow as it was tributed off over 2 Doom Metals. Shadowbuyer also going to level 7. No, only level 6. But Tyler is now out of both Negate Attack and Slime, and is hanging on at just 900. We have yet to see a legend spell from Tomato here. The extra spice comes in and finishes the game, after being recycled by, I believe, the Seal Array. And that is game number 3 and a noodle victory. Meaning we are going to be moving on to round number 2. And double check that, it is actually proceeding as normal. And I noticed the admin has sent me a message. Jan has 2 decks registered. Can I check on that? How did they do that? Oh, I see. They went in with 2 decks. I can apparently edit it, but I don't have the images. Which match? Oh, it says there is still another match waiting on verification that I completely didn't notice. Game results automatically verified. So that should be all 14 of round 1 matches, and round 2 has begun. I'll go ahead and send out the ping. Yeah, I am okay at typing. I do it a lot, so I suppose being fast at it, is pretty normal. We do have to wait for players to start checking in. So in the meantime, I could go do a typing test, But I do think Tomato is already checked in. I might be sending a room code. So let's just go spectate Yu-Gi-Oh! Instead. Enter room. And here we go. Oh, it looks like they are both actually already here, which is good. Game number 1 of round 2 is underway. And I've been told this is going to be a burn versus burn matchup. We already know Tomato is on Noodles, but presumably Free Spark, also known as Marco, is going to be playing the same deck. But there's always a chance it is instead Explosion Drive, as we don't see the Noodle skill. So it very well might be actually. All we've seen so far are some random spellcasters, and it looks like they are running Sparks, which is now able to be recycled by the newly introduced Spark Hearts Girl, who is unfortunately a limit 3 card though, which means this deck is running no Dragias, no all of the other good cards. There's no way this is actually good. But it is round 2, which means if Tomato won, Marco must have also been able to get a win with it. So I guess we will just have to wait and see how the deck works. Looking at it, I'm guessing there isn't much of an issue. Like, it seems like a pretty normal looking aggro deck. So maybe that is where the good things, sorry, there are back-end issues going on. Apparently there were a few players who did not show up during round 1, but the system did not automatically drop them. So if they don't show up again, I will then remove them from the event. Anyway, back to the actual game. I apparently missed Tomato getting in for 3,000 damage, using Extra Spice's burn and swinging over something. Spark Hearts Girl is able to debuff the Extra Spice, and then also inflict 200 burn damage by setting Sparks face down. Obviously, the much more powerful way to use the effect is instead to set Current of Sparks, which is a 500 debuff. However, with the skills and Duel Links often providing attack boosts, it's not going to be enough to protect something like a 7-zone Magician from a 3,000 attack Extra Spice. We see True to the Doomed destroying that face down Babysitter Goat, and Spark gets in for 1,700, plus the damage dealt over the Extra Spice. And Tomato is actually in a bit of a pickle. Unless they're able to get in a win this turn. But we see a Monster Reincarnation to recycle the Extra Spice, while also sending a Kana, the first Aqua monster to enter the graveyard. And now Seahorse Carrier is live, allowing them to tribute off the 2 monsters, and inflict 1,000 points of burn, while drawing a card and recycling another monster. Alright, Fire Arrow coming down, and then likely coming right back to hand, unless Tomato already has everything they want. The Extra Spice over the Light Sorcerer Sanctity is already 1200 damage, so a lethal line is entirely possible if they have just about anything else. Another boss monster would almost certainly end it, but instead we see a talismanic seal array. I get to shuffle back the Seahorse Carrier and any other effect monsters hiding in here. We see 2 fire arrows into the deck, as the third one is also in the graveyard. And you want to be able to revive the stronger monster. I add it with 2000 damage. This could be game. It'll art reboot, boost up. And Spark is going to need to flip a buffered slime or a negate attack to survive. But unfortunately for Tomato, they do have the negation. But Tomato is not out of the game just yet. Only one monster is in attack mode. And they also have 2 monsters to protect themselves. In defense mode, plus back row. There is a world where the 7th edition gets big enough that it is able to deal over 1500. We see it, Tomato is on Eternal Freeze, sending the Trigger Jago right back into the deck. But Free Spark is unfazed, summoning out a second copy. And with no cards in hand, Trigger Jago is actually able to inflict piercing damage. A Talismanic Seal Array, and things are looking rough for Tomato. No negate attack or slime face down. And the burn Sparkheart's Girl deck takes a win. And a deck almost assuredly much stronger. The burn from all of the sparks actually might have contributed to the lethal there. Check back in on back end. And it looks like there might be a player that does need to be disqualified in a minute or two. So I will be keeping that in mind while we're playing this game. I may need to stop commentating for a moment, but I will definitely be having the game playing. And there is a mod call here, but it looks like both players are in the room. And we see the set sparks immediately activating for the 200 burn, while also thinning out the deck. Butchercorn is able to lock down the back row, making sure that Extra Spice manages to get in, though this isn't really the most important turn for it. All Sparks monsters are in defense mode, meaning the attacks are not actually going to be doing very much. Even if the Extra Spice manages to clear a monster, there are going to be plenty of monsters left on the board as tribute material for those Stone Magicians and Trigger Dragos. A Mystic Dealer going down is always a good start, though. But Monster Reincarnation is forced to come out incredibly early. And it's all just for a lone 1400 wall and not even a full board of defense. Light Sorcerer Sanctity debuffing by 300. And presumably the other monsters are going to be getting tributed off pretty soon. Trigger Jago, with no cards in Tomato's hand, is able to inflict piercing, but Spark is going to need to have a 7th Magician if they want to be able to send the Trigger Drago that way, or another copy of the Trigger Drago, and then we see 2 mills, but the negate attack is down. If Tomato is able to hold off this board, things would be good for them. but they do not have the negate attack face down themselves. So instead, they are taking a ton of damage and are on the back foot against Sparks. Sparkheart Girls might be going up to a 2-0 record, but we do see the Seahorse Carrier. Presumably another Extra Spice is coming in to help equalize this board state. And as expected, it does. Noodle Art Reboot able to give them a small attack boost to get over this Tree Drago, as well as add back the Fire Arrow to send away for burn. And you can't overlook the other part of the effect. Infinitely 1,000 burn damage would not be enough to make this a good card. After sending the monster to the graveyard, they are able to cycle a card. And that means the Noodle deck is drawing an extra card almost every turn, meaning they are more likely to find a gate attack, more likely to find buffered slime, and generally be able to actually play the general game plan of Yu-Gi-Oh! By seeing more cards than the opponent, they are just that much more able to find those one-ofs that other decks are simply hoping to draw. Sparkheart's Girl coming in, and we might just be seeing a Sparks set back face down. Marco does have plenty of material on board and should be able to afford ditching a monster to activate the effect. We do see Extra Spice debuff, and another 200 damage from Sparks is coming in, making a total of 400 from Sparks. Welcome, Brandon. Alright, Tasmanic Seal Array is going to put this Noodle Ninja down to 300. And that is an exact lethal line with Tree Drago boosted to 2800 by its own effect. Tomato needs to have a face down card to save them here. Currently, Call of the Earthbound would work, but with another Tree Drago on board, Call of the Earthbound is now no longer good enough. We need a slime or a negate attack, and Tomato concedes. Sparks with a 2-0 victory over the Noodles. Let's try to find some players we have not. And right, I need to actually disqualify a couple of players. Though we will see if I'm able to actually figure out how to do that. Firefox. Remove. Wait, brackets are effective. Brackets have already started. No. I don't want to do that. I just want them to not get paired in the future. Well, I will handle that once we actually get into another game, since I want the back-end stuff to not get in the way of actually being able to watch games. Dual room, enter, bracket, and let's grab, no, we already saw them. Okay. And they are underway. Okay, so how do I remove Firefox from this event? And we see Yggdrago coming down to destroy the lone connector dog in a Cyberse mirror. 4,000 direct damage. So, with this many cards in the graveyard, we must be watching Beyond Curiosity versus Ragnarok. All the players are currently on Ragnarok, but Beyond Curiosity is maybe not better than Ragnarok at this point, but it is actually a viable strategy with the Chaos Femtron out of the game. You are able to easily summon Execute Hydrons with over 4,000 attack. Any advice for Blue Eyes? I mean, as long as you're running your Kevimans and maybe an Aqua Engine or some other way, you are going to brick every now and then, but you should be able to make it relatively consistent. Was that game 3? Apparently we missed game number 1, and that was a 2-0 victory. So let's load back in and watch how the first game unfolded. We see the Chaos Femtron into a Picotron, and they are already 10 cards into the grave. 16, 17, 18 on turn 1. And there is the Yggdrago swinging in for 2,600. Ragnarok is going to be able to debuff it, but with 3,200 attack, it is still pretty difficult to actually clear. We see a Talismanic Seal Array, though I probably would have used the Yggdrago effects first. No, they have a second Seal Array. It does not matter. That is an exact lethal over the Attitude and an incredibly quick victory for Beyond Curiosity. So let's go ahead and find another match. Looks like a lot of players are getting a lot further in. Looks like they are still on game 1. And we see Soji on a pet dragon harpy, relatively rare in the tournament scene. On ladder, harpies have been a relatively popular deck, so players will be running 1 to 2 pet dragons for the mirror match. But in tournaments, players traditionally drop the level 7 for additional spell cards, offering consistency, and getting over the hump with just your level 5 monsters. We see a Spice the Elite Noodle Ninja and Noodle Art Reboot to add another one back to hand. But it looks like they actually went for the mill before recycling the monster. And rather than attacking with the stock, they are throwing it face down. Unfortunately for Georfio, a copy of Counter Pigeons keeps Faithbird alive. Essel onto the board can mill some additional monsters for either a Trick Pigeon or a middle piece to add back to hand or shuffle into the deck respectively. We see the, I want to say, right side? Yeah. Right side Harpy Ladies, back into the deck, and the board is cleared. And it says they believe Yuma was running an illegal deck. I definitely didn't notice it, but I will take a look. Where are they? Oh. I mean, that deck looks legal. It just is not Cybers. But were they the players on Cybers we were watching earlier? I can't even remember. Oh, welcome, Cyclone. Also, let me make sure I haven't missed anything. I know I'm missing out on the game right in front of us. But, yeah. Resonance is the registered deck for Yuma. So, if they didn't bring it, to round 2, that's definitely not good. So I will go ask their opponent. Cryogene. Wait, but we actually don't know how to disqualify people. Because we are having a ton of trouble dropping the inactive players. So I will be looking this up. What else am I missing? Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. Sorry for the lack of commentary. We are trying to figure out how to remove these players from the event, and startgg, as you can tell by the YouTube stream title, is not an enjoyable experience. I do not know how to remove players from the event. I found the remove entry from the registration page, but when I go to do that, it tells me it will affect the bracket, and it's like, don't do this if the event has started. So I do not know where else I'm supposed to do it from. That said, I do think Clausulus is also looking into it, so maybe we should focus on actually running the stream. Currently we have Harpies fighting down against Noodles. Noodles are definitely the more popular deck in the recent format. Harpies still are able to do everything that they want to, but the general power level has increased, where 2600s and an occasional Piercing Samurai probably isn't enough to be securely winning games, especially when players have two entire battle phase negations from Negate Attack and Slime. Looks like they are in a bit of a bind here. With a strong monster on board and two defense position monsters, Hysteric Force is not able to flip monsters back face up. And there's only going to be one Tribute to the Doomed in the deck for a big push, which can easily be negated. And here comes the Tribute to the Doomed. And we even have the minimum summon. All three Harpy pieces on board. But Diorfeo, with three face-down spell trap cards. And Widespread Ruin largely being replaced by Negate Attack, drastically lowers the value of the Harpy left side. We see the buff also presumably going onto the Trap Immune Harpy. But this is still not lethal. No, they actually decided to spread out the buffs. Which I think is generally not the right play. We see Perfect Slime taking the 2000 hit to prevent the direct attack later in the turn, preventing a little bit of damage, but also potentially, more importantly, freeing up a spell and trap zone for Diorfeo's next turn. Diorfeo, with only 9 cards in deck, is definitely looking to find lethal here. Alright, Klaus, please DM me on how I do this. And we see a spice up to 3400, but that is not yet lethal. 4000 though, 100 over the amount. A counter pigeons, still presenting a potential issue. Fire Arrow going face down, but if the noodle is destroyed, it would have been flipped up and potentially game. That said, it looks like they didn't have anything able to stop it. Or at the very least, they chose not to. Alright, and it looks like our issues have finally been resolved on the back end. Soup says, did I know Geografia was the finalist in 2022 World Championships? I knew they were very good at the game. I did not know they had gone that far, no. Alright, so it is turn 3, and neither player has played much of anything, both with at least 4 cards set. A lone fire arrow, preventing the hysteric force from flipping up a potentially weaker monster, like a seahorse carrier or Kana. Soji thinking out their play. Presumably they do have at least one 2-beat monster in hand. And immediately going and confirming this with the tribute summon of the right side. Theoretically, it's even possible they have the entire maximum, and we're trying to figure out whether or not to maximum summon. We do see the middle piece as well. And if they do have the left side as well, I do think it is correct not to have maximum summoned. With 2 defensive monsters, you're probably not going to get a ton of value out of it. Middle piece swings in. But apparently not first. The Hard Lady tries to clear out stock. Potentially testing for trap cards. What did I just miss? Broadcasted in 2020, if you won, would have been qualified 2023. Last COVID year. Well, I mean, they are still running the World Championship qualifiers in about a week or 2. So everyone will have another chance to make it there. Alright, we see Spice. But an extra Spice Mill is probably not what you want to see. That card is really the main win condition of the deck. Potentially a Monster Reincarnation is set up for later. But, boss management is quite important, which is probably why I think players, in addition to some other reasons, are opting for Talismanic Seal Array over Noodle Art of Roastery. If you end up with your bosses in the grave early, you need a way to get them back into the deck. And the Noodle deck is also a little bit more prone to decking out than any other deck in the format. And we do see the tribute summon for the left side. Unsure if they had it on the previous turn or not. A Faith Bird rounds out this board quite nicely. Hysteric Force boosting up to 26. Theoretically, a copy of the barrier would be able to stop the attack, but Talismanic Seal Array provides a much larger gap. And they weren't running barrier anyway. Largely because a card like Talismanic Seal Array makes battle traps significantly worse when you're able to get a huge swing with your spell cards. Even in a matchup like Harpies, where they are tending to float a round 2600, your 2500 monsters are not safe with attack reduction effects. And that is why everybody's running cards like Buffered Slime or Negate Attack instead. Theoretically, if the battle traps actually worked, they would be better than even a Negate Attack, as stopping an attack is not as powerful as stopping the attack, inflicting damage to the opponent, and destroying one of their monsters. It just requires a lot more conditions for that to actually ever happen. And of course, Negate Attack ends the entire battle phase, so even if they have multiple strong monsters, you're able to protect key monsters, like the Extra Spice. welcome Alterios. Tournament has been rocky. We are a lot more used to running the point battles, and startgg is always causing issues every time we try to run an event with it. But I think for the most part, things are okay. Once the tournament tends to begin, a lot of players are just playing the game and things go smoothly, even if we have a lot of issues on the back end. Most of the players don't experience those. And once again, we see the minimum summon, wiping out Giorfio's entire board. 4,500 is enough, where, barring a shield and sword, I don't think Giorfio is getting in for lethal this turn. And furthermore, most players are no longer on shield and sword, despite harpies and noodles being decks in the meta. More popular decks, like Blue Eyes, and Aggro and Machine, tend to have at least 1,500 defense on their bosses, making the value from Shield and Sword significantly lower. We do see Giorfio has a Tribute to the Doomed here, and had it been the Shield and Sword, things would have been a little bit better. Though, even with the Shield and Sword, with Soji having 3 back row, one of them is almost guaranteed to be a buffered slime or negative attack, and that means the Shield and Sword would have ended up doing nothing. Another reason Tribute to the Doomed is seeing play, as it always provides the value, regardless of what traps the opponent has. We see another middle piece, replacing the one that was destroyed. And at 2,600, either of these attacks connecting is game. But much like Soji, Giorfio with 3 face down cards. Very unlikely to let this attack get through. King's Majesty, shuffling a Babysitter Goat back into the deck. And a Call of the Earthbound to redirect the second attack. The third Harpy only able to deal 800 damage, which is not lethal. Giorfio just barely hanging on. But at this much of a deficit, and with Soji having 3 face downs, the game is essentially over. I do not see a way Giorfio can win this. I mean, an extra spice, and then drawing exactly Shield and Sword, drawing exactly Buffered Slime after negate attack to give the extra spice 3 turns to work the burn is probably just about the only thing that would actually save them here. We do see Reboot. But is it going to be enough? We do know the Harpy deck is probably not running any relevant spell trap removal. Some players are on Ghost Cyclone, but Giorfio will not be clearing the board anytime soon. And then if you're on spell strategy, the Winged Beast spell trap removal is limit 3, meaning it is not compatible with the deck, as Harpy Lady Sisters is also limit 3. Essel milling a few cards, enabling another middle piece to shuffle cards back. But they do lose a Talismanic Seal Array in the process. Welcome, Paco. And for the third turn in a row, the middle Harpy piece is summoned again. I'm thinking they will probably do another attempt. We see a 2 summon for a Cybertech Alligator, which seems a little bit unnecessary. But it does enable a Talismanic Seal Array for extra damage, I suppose. Paco, now that you mention it, we are going to be forced to watch you in the next round. I did not notice you were 0 and 4. I have not checked your deck list yet, but we will be checking it soon. So the Buffered Slime from Giorfio mills the negate attack. And that is rough. Also able to find 2600 this turn through 3 back row. And Giorfio also only with 1 card in the deck. Do they have any extra spices? 1 left. They basically need to summon out the third one, recycle, Talismanic Seal Array, burn for 1,000, draw another extra spice, burn again, then boost up to 3,000, but it is not happening. And that is going to conclude round 2. It is going to take a couple of minutes for round 3 to get situated and for players to start making room. So I'm going to take this time for a quick water break. If anyone needs to go and get a snack, use the restroom, etc., now is the time. We'll be back with round 3 in just a couple of minutes. we are back with round 3 getting underway. Let's go see if anyone has made the room. Oh wait, actually, it is still finalizing the results. I will auto-confirm so that it may proceed. Also, I need to send the ping. Announcements, tournament. Round 3 is live. Alright, and we are ready to go. PvP Arena, Duel Room, and we'll see which players are the fastest at making... Well, actually, we did want to watch Paco, so hopefully they show up. How have you all been enjoying the tournament so far? I know we've watched a lot of noodles. I think part of that is it being a popular deck, and a part of it is being a bit slower in its game plan, often summoning an extra spice, and setting a monster or 2 face down. And that means as the round comes to a close, there is often going to be a noodle player left over trying to finish out their games, while everyone else is already finished. Oh, I'm not, creating a room. Enter. Other than that, I will say we have seen not as much machine as I thought we would be spectating. I was kind of expecting everyone to be running the deck. Looking over at the players who have started, it is exclusively players we have already seen. Tomato, Cryogene, Mushroom, Andrew Catlord, etc. Andrew Orfeo. Let me see, maybe this one is 2 new players. No. Actually, maybe. Because I would have recognized the issue earlier. Okay. Let's go ahead and see if they have a room open. And we are going to be getting in to another Blue Eyes player today. Also a deck I did expect to see a lot of representation, as a new deck that is relatively decent. And also from speed duels. Players are pretty likely to want to come in and try out decks like the Harpies, like Blue Eyes, and whatever comes next. SG says we should ban the Tengu players. Funnily enough, Blue Falcon Formation is not the only Tengu skill anymore. The Spectral Squall allows Tengu to become a 1 tribute 2800. Though I think most players are not able to find the deck space for it, as you need to be running Ice Arc as the primary skill target, and all of those level 7 or 8 monsters that you send to the graveyard take up all of those slots for tributes that you would otherwise have. If we had a copy of Trade-In, the deck would be significantly better. Alright, so here we go with Dingest running a Nestle, but only finding a Doriado from Yaon's graveyard. Torna, face down. Had it been normal summoned in attack mode, it probably would have survived. But we see Maximum Overload, sending the Overrush rare green piece. And we'll see how this Torna-centric Maximum Overlord deck is able to deal with Blue Eyes, a deck filled with monsters with 2500 defense. 2 copies of Magical Stream are able to destroy Sword and Shield and Recital, two cards that they are probably not worried about. Much more important are the Negate Attack and Buffered Slime, which are able to stop lethal pushes much more consistently, especially the Negate Attack, as it is even able to stop Magnum Overlord from... And if both copies of Torn of the Windweaver go down early, there isn't going to be much the player is able to do to get through a set 3 board if Magnum Overlord does not OTK. Yaon is going to be stuck with a pretty useless monster on the board. Welcome, Bonko. This is actually Swiss, so neither. Most of our events are point battles, and we will be doing another one on Friday. At the usual time. But with the new box coming out, we decided to do one Swiss tournament. And the winner is going to receive a copy of some structure deck that I don't remember. Probably the Yuger one with Mirror Innovator in it, would be my guess. We see the 7-zone Magician and a Valkyria. Though Valkyria is not able to clear the Blue Eyes Bright Dragon. It looks like Dingus does not activate any of those 3 face down cards. Notably, the Blue Eyes deck has yet to find the Blue Eyes, which is why I personally tend to run either something like Legend Draw or even Black Dragon Rising. John, anyone is free to join the point battle. If you aren't already a member of the Discord server where these events are being held, make sure to grab the link I'm about to post. And then you're also going to want to make sure you have the tournament player role, so you are able to be pinged whenever we are setting up the events. The point battle rooms go live 1 hour before the start of each event, giving players time to show up. No registration, no external sites needed. Just get the code and join on in. And Bonko asking for the bracket link. I don't know if it will work quite the same, but I can send you the startgg page. So the second link is the event currently going on. And presumably it should have a link to the bracket somewhere. We see 7-zone Magician attempting to swing over the Bright Dragon, but Buffered Slime is going to negate this damage. I believe it was only 22, so not quite lethal. But Dingus is also opening up that Spell and Trap zone for later, and also isn't able to use Buffered Slime against the maximum monster anyway, so it's good to get in for the value when you can. 2700 is also right above the lethal threshold, or below in this case. Dingus should be safe at 2700. It's around 2300 to 2500 that it starts being game. And we see the legend Blue Eyes White Dragon finally making its appearance with Soul Drake to revive a copy of Bright Dragon. 7-zone Magician is being destroyed, but Dingus is still going to need another monster in hand in order to find a lethal push here. Bright Eyes swings in. And will the Blue Eyes be stopped? It is not, but there was a delay. There just might be an attack ready. Let's take a look at their graveyard and see what is missing. Negate Attack is already down, but it could have been Slime. And it looks like they are holding on for one more turn to try to draw into the maximum. 10 cards left in deck. And we've seen 2 blue in the graveyard. I know they've been recycling a green as well. So perhaps they are just looking for the headpiece. Pirate Slime activated a little bit preemptively, but not a huge deal. With 8 cards left in the deck and 3 cards to draw, the odds are on their side to find the maximum here. But does Dingus still have negate attack at the ready? They do. And if Dingus is able to block this attack, Yaon is probably not going to be surviving. With only 5 cards in deck and Reflection Charge reducing it to 4, they are decking out nearly immediately. And now putting that card face down almost certainly seals the game one way or the other. Negate attack means all Dingus has to do is end turn, and the game ends. Unable to draw 5 cards from the top of their deck. And it looks like they are getting in to game number 2. And Dingus starting off with a set 4. Light Sorcerer, probably going to be able to beat through one of those monsters. Magical Stream preemptively. I'm actually not sure how I feel about that play. As I said last time, negate attack is able to negate the Magnum Overlord push for game. So by not using your magical streams right away, basically just setting them face down and waiting until mid-game, where you've already forced out some of the other cards already, your magical streams become much more likely to actually be able to hit the card. Force them to activate their buffered slime, their shield and sword, etc. early, and then hit them with the magical stream when you're pretty sure you're going to be able to hit the trap. Of course, there is the chance magical stream itself gets destroyed by Hammer Crush, but then they've invested that Hammer Crush into the magical stream instead of your own trap cards, so it kind of washes out. Welcome, Giancarlo. But let's see if we can't get things back in order. Sorry about the delay there. But no need to dwell on it. We will simply figure out the next match to go watch. Looks like we are still early in round number 3. And I did want to watch Paco. So let's make sure their game is set up. We're gonna go ahead, leave this room, and give it another shot. Enter into Duel Room. And we'll see how their games are going. Let's take a look at game number 1. Alright, and it looks like YouTube and Twitch are both working again. Hopefully it is actually on the same stream. I know YouTube in particular has an issue where it tries to make a separate video when the live streams get disconnected. looks like Isark would explain why Paco is currently not doing so well in the event. Dragonic Slayer able to destroy 2 different back row cards, and Dragonic Resonance getting in for a solid amount of damage. Isark back at 3k, and bringing in a 2500 vanilla. When you think about it, Isark and the Gold Rush both are able to consistently summon 2500 monsters that don't have any effect. But the machine deck is very clearly doing things much better. We see the other Torero flip down that. And it actually makes sense, as the Righteous Dragon has 400 defense, and Torero wouldn't have been able to clear them. And after a Bunker Strike, it looks like Paco conceded. But they did do a full best of 3. Which means Isark must have won this next game. Let's take a look and see how it happened. Will we see a delay directive on turn number 1? Wait, okay. Maybe not. That must have been a fake game. Sometimes the game doesn't load in properly. And Yuma starting off with no monsters on board. That could be a pretty good way for Isark to be able to pick up a win. Incredibly rough start. 2 to the Doomed, not all that important when you are not able to actually follow up with it at all. We see a Dragonic Resonance, but a Lone Slayer is already not game. As the Isark can run right over it. And that means we are now in what should be the final game. It looks like they are not here. So I am doing the remaining player drops that I'm able to. All the players that didn't show up for round 3 are being dropped. Except I'm actually not able to even find some of them. Because I'm having trouble. It's not letting me scroll down to the rest of the players. Oh, and it looks like there has been a mod call as well. Let us see what the issue is. Over to the chat. And back to the game, we see Slayer and Winged Dragon putting in a little bit of work here. However, Stark with 2000 is able to withstand the pressure from the dragon and is now going to be able to shuffle away 2 monsters to summon out the 3rd. Yami Ruler onto the board, 2500 and 2500. And with some back row to protect them, this almost seems like a good choice. However, Stark not going up to 3k, which means the deck now has a chance to start bricking again. And Recital even keeps a monster around, providing an easier double tribute, double boss board for Yuma. Welcome, Penguin. And, I assume it's just pronounced Soup E, rather than like Sope. And as expected, we did see a double boss board. The future mining, probably not doing a ton for them though. Probably should have summoned that one before the Slayer, so they would have had a chance to draw into cards like Triad Drago. Negate attack going down. And that means the 2 bosses here will be destroyed. But I feel like Paco might already have one in their hand ready to summon again. And with a Twin Edge Dragon, Yuma could potentially swing in for 2800 this turn. Still not quite lethal, but Paco now in an incredible bind, losing to probably one of the decks they have played the most. Twin Edge clears out 2. Bunker Strike clears another, and Paco down to 200 life. How will they manage to deal 5,000? 600 damage in time. And that is game. Let's see who else is still playing in round 3. Looks like most of the players are getting pretty close to finishing. So we'll try finding this one. And we'll just be watching game number 3. And it appears to be a Death Doom Requiem mirror. Starting off with an invasion, setting up the phasers for next turn. Andrew also summoning out an invasion, but then able to bring in a heavy metal. Heavy metal not going to be able to attack directly though, due to the restriction of Death Doom Requiem. However, it is going to be able to destroy invasion and destroy another monster. Andrew setting to back row. rather than summoning additional monsters to get in for a chance at the life points, still protecting their own heavy metal. Probably not a bad idea. Phaser on board is able to switch out for another level 7, and that means a Doom Metal would be live here, inflicting 800 damage. But instead, Luke goes for a heavy metal of their own, boosting up to 5,000 damage. And theoretically, this is a 6,000 damage on board option. Andrew goes for negate attack. Seems a little bit unnecessary here, as the heavy metal was not able to attack directly. But it's possible they forgot about that, and simply saw the 6,000 damage. Monster Reincarnation, a solid choice for a deck running 9 bosses that needs a 3-card combo. Heavy metal added to hand, and Gargoyle is going to be able to enable that effect. But it is also only going to be swinging in for 1,000, if that is what they're going for. Luke also has the Sequences recital to stop the attack, and we are left with a heavy metal stare down. Presumably, though, this heavy metal is about to be traded off for another copy of itself or the Doom Metal. Dynamic Dino Dynamics. Speaking of the new Dynasty Maximum, we do have one player running with it in the event. And they did manage to win their first round pretty handily, though it looks like things may not be going so well in the future rounds. I am interested in seeing which decks are currently in the 3-0 territory. Alright, we see another recital blocking the heavy metal again. Timba says these are the only Rebel players in the event. I mean, I suppose if you have similar records, you're bound to match up against each other eventually. And finally, a heavy metal manages to break through. But not through the other heavy metal, but rather just a Shadow Buyer for 1,300 damage. And with turn 7, we have players at 6,000 and 4,700 life points. And you can kind of understand why this match is taking a little bit longer than all the other ones in the round. We see a heavy metal attack another set monster, and we are going to be here for a while. A second copy of heavy metal finally coming in. But will they be able to get in for 5,000 damage? With Luke having 3 back row, it seems pretty unlikely. And there's always the chance the Shadow Buyer runs into a monster with an actual defense stat. Paco, if you would like to drop from the tournament, let me know, and I can actually make it so you don't get paired. Which means we actually have to maintain the integrity of the bracket. But yes, definitely let me know if you don't want to play anymore. Alright. Paco has been dropped. I need to remove Nas. And then I think there might be one more. Toshiro. And then that should be everybody. Oh wait, Kanor also did not show up. Did they fail to show up the second round as well? Where are they? Okay. And with that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 players have been removed from the event, which is a pretty normal amount for this part in the tournament. Most people, after they go 0-2, tend to start dropping. And once again, Doom-Metal not getting in for any direct damage, and only dealing 800 in burn. Recital even keeps the monster a round. Turn 11. Andrew is down to 1500, so we might actually see a push for lethal here. Stop defense, flipping up an Essel. Any 2500 is going to be able to finish this game. Presumably, if they are activating the spell, they do have something. But apparently they don't. They just wanted to bring in an arching soldier to deal 900. I mean, with 4,000 life, there isn't that much of a threat. And by bringing the opponent below 800, anytime Luke manages to resolve a Doom-Metal here, will immediately end the game. It is also notable that Andrew only has 4 cards left in deck, meaning they aren't really able to stall either, even with a Shadow Buyer. That is not going to really buy them a lot of time. So the kobold could, theoretically, try to get them a card deeper into the deck. But what could they possibly even be wanting to draw right now? I think at this point, it's just a slow grind until Andrew is defeated. Maybe they've managed to land a crazy stop defense plus heavy metal and swing in for 4,000 over some 0 attack monster. Alright, we see a Genie's Fire Breath. So they are making some kind of push this turn. But 600, definitely not going to be enough. And they are drawing 3 of the 4 cards left in their deck on the next turn. And they've even run into a Babysitter Goat, dropping their life all the way down to 200. A single copy of Sparks is enough to end the game here. We do see a Doom medal, and we have finally managed to finish the game. Luke wins. So I will go ahead and report this result. And that means we can finally move on to round number 4. Trying to see if there are any players that we have not spectated yet. That would be an interesting match. Did we have anybody submit with Psychic? And if so, is it this one? It was not. I'm gonna see if we can find the Psychic player or if they have already dropped out of the event. Alright, and I have managed to find it. As long as one of those players checks in, we will go ahead and view them later in the round. In the meantime, let us go ahead and find a match that has already started. Tomatosaurs versus Terra. Go ahead and enter the room. But as we start game number 1, I am realizing I need to stand up and stretch a little bit. So I'm gonna let this one play. And I will be back in a second. I just need 1 moment. Are back. Looks like Psychics are being forced into a defensive position while the Noodles attempt to slowly burn them down. Oh wait, no, they're not on Psychic. Right. The Human Katana, Matt, and Sleeves, and the discussion about Psychic right beforehand threw me off a little bit. But I believe they are actually on Magnum. Tomatosaurs with a small lead. Though, with Magnum, you never know until the game is over. Paco, I will try to send you a Magician Shuffle list. But I am actually very busy today. As this tournament is going longer and longer, I'm kind of actually a little bit concerned. I'm not even going to be able to finish streaming this. But I will send me a DM after the tournament ends. And I will get it back to you, eventually. Though, keep in mind, my list is just going to be what I think is probably pretty good, which is the machine variant, which is going to look shockingly similar to Ultimate Bond. And it's not going to be very tested. And I actually need to add this to a thing I wanted to deck profile later in the week. So, give me one moment to do that, otherwise I absolutely will forget. Okay. So we see Tara has a 7th edition, able to swing over this extra spice, but any trap card would be able to stop it. Timnosaur's no Colony Earthbound, flipping face up. And we've seen a green piece. And we already know Tara has had a blue piece get destroyed. And that means Tara is looking for head. And that'll probably be the end of the game. Though both players still at plenty of life points. So even if Tara did assemble the maximum, it would not yet be time to summon it. But this also means Tomato gets all of this time to draw into negate attack. And unless Tara is able to force it out, which is going to be they have an attack difference of 1200 and gain 1400. So that is 2600 damage. Tara is a few hundred life points off from lethal. A Light Sorcerer of Sanctity would essentially end the game here, assuming they are also able to summon the maximum monster. But it doesn't appear to be the case. Wait, maybe. Double Light Sorc. However, there is one issue. They don't have the maximum. Still, it looks like this was enough to get in for some damage and potentially clear out the board, as long as this one doesn't run into a stop. Fire Arrow going down. And Tara returning that green piece back to the top of the deck. With 2500 life and a pretty unimpressive board of monsters, Tomato could easily burn and swing in for lethal. However, Tara still with 3 back row. Absolutely expecting to see a slime flip here. And Tara down to just 1500. Magnum looking like lethal now. But both players do have 3 back row. Entering battle, and this is a lethal blow, but Tara's negate attack activates. Tomato with 3 back row of their own, but only 1 card can stop a maximum. And with Tara still having the, wait, why is it running ads? It was not supposed to do that for like half an hour. I think since I'm disconnected, how do I stop that? I think since I disconnected, it started running an additional roll of ads, which I did not want it to do. Wait, am I disconnected again? In any case, I don't think that is something I can currently control. And Tara summoning in a second extra spice is going to end the game, Have fun in New Jersey, Paco. And Tomato wins game number 1. At least I assume that was going to be game number 1. Unless I am completely out of it. Which is possible. Alright, so Tara opening up with 2 red pieces this time. The card they were looking for in the previous game. A relatively decent board with 2 monsters above 1500. And it looks like Tomato may not have opened any of their bosses at all, giving Tara a ton of leverage in establishing the board and then being able to use Torna's effect with no resistance. Magical Stream able to remove some of these face downs. When you already have a board like this, drawing as many spelling trap cards as possible is beneficial to the game plan. To the maneuver, able to discard anything unwanted. Presumably going to be a random low-level monster they aren't able to make use of. And they hit the 200 attack. Will the 1700 go through? Oh, they actually don't choose to swing in with Magnum Overlord first. However, I don't think I've ever seen a noodle deck making use of Cycloptron. So I probably would have just swung in with the Light Sorcerer into the defense position monster. Okay, and it says I am not streaming anything, and the frames are being dropped. For anyone who is watching, is it currently buffering a lot? We might honestly just have to call it. I definitely don't want it to be an unwatchable stream. I'd rather just manage the event in the background at that point. I just see like a bunch of red indicators on my screen. Light Sorcerer swinging in over a stock. 900 damage available if Magnum Overlord is uncontested. It is buff. Oh, and now it's green again. Okay. Maybe it was just rebooting. Buffering a little bit, it has recovered. So we will keep going for now. Or not, it is right back down to 0 on my end. And I also feel bad because I'm pretty sure the Twitch system time to plaster more ads. I actually normally try to time breaks with them, and then I also don't start the streams themselves until 3 or 4 minutes. That way Twitch gets some of those ads out of the way before anyone is annoyed by them. So I apologize if it has been more than usual. Anyway, we see Magnum Overlord swinging in over the Kana, but there was a buffered slime activation. If Tara had swung in with the level 10 monster first, they would have been able to guarantee some damage, as buffered slime is only activatable when a level 8 or lower monster attacks for some damage. But also note, it is turn 8, and Tomato is still dealing with the exact same monsters that Tara summoned turn 1. There has been no change to the board. stock on the board by itself, able to clear Torna, but I think there has to be a negative attack or something here. Otherwise, the lone stock would not make sense. And the negative attack is indeed forced out. But how is Tomato going to get rid of the other 5,000 life points before Magnum Overlord shows up? Things are looking a little tough. Though I'm pretty sure Tomato did win game number 1. So Tomato is not to be counted out of the match.